You know, I did some quick math in my head, and I'm almost positive that at least 65% of the dialogue in this movie is Trouble with the Curve is a new movie starring Clint Eastwood, Amy Adams, and Justin Timberlake. Now, he didn't direct this movie. A lot of people are confused about that. This is actually the first film that Clint Eastwood starred in since In the Line of Fire in like 1993 that he did not direct. That's one of the biggest reasons I was looking forward to this movie, because basically it's been 20 years since he's been in a movie that he hasn't directed himself. It's about an aging baseball scout who is having some problems with his eyesight. He has a daughter, Amy Adams, who he doesn't really know very well, and she's forced to come with him on one last trip he takes out to scout for new players. Basically, at the point that Eastwood is in his life now, any character he plays will be aging in some way, shape, or form. As usual, he does a very good job in this movie, and I loved Clint Eastwood. He's been one of my favorite actors, filmmakers forever. I mean, think about it, really. He directed his first movie in 1971. I mean, and he's still making films nowadays, and he's been like a Class A actor forever. I mean, the guy, he's a living legend. He may play different variations of the same character over and over again, but you watch the movie because you like Clint Eastwood. You just like what he brings to a movie. And there's something to be said about a guy way older than most of the common movie stars of today, who is still bringing an audience in, who's still able to be that entertaining, and can still be a convincing physical presence who can beat the crap out of young kids. As Eastwood and Amy Adams are forced to go on this trip together to look for potential Major League Baseball players, his eyes start to fail, and she has to step in and kind of be the person who's looking for all the signs that he's supposed to be looking for. You get to see them bond again, and I can tell Eastwood's definitely attracted to stories of father-daughter bonding, like Million Dollar Baby, for instance. Along the way, they run into Justin Timberlake, who is also now a baseball scout, and Amy Adams and him kind of strike up a strange little relationship. How is this movie? It's not bad. It could have been a lot better, I think. I was disappointed in this movie largely because I was expecting more from Eastwood's first acting role he's taken in almost 20 years that he didn't direct. That being said, though, the movie is not that bad, and I think that for people who weren't expecting something, they'll probably enjoy it more than I did, who had higher expectations. See, I've always loved baseball movies. When I grew up, The Sandlot, Field of Dreams, The Natural. These are movies that I watched over and over again, and I've always enjoyed playing baseball, and baseball's always been the sport that's closest to my heart. Even though I liked playing basketball more, for some reason baseball was the one that always made me feel more like, I don't know, like an American? I guess that's why they call it the Great American Pastime. So there is that quality this movie has that all baseball movies that are good seem to have, where it feels really heartfelt. And as usual, Eastwood is great in this movie, despite the fact that most all of his lines end with See, my main problem with this film is that there are three major stories. Eastwood and his daughter, that was compelling. His daughter and Justin Timberlake getting to know each other, that was fine. And there was another story of Amy Adams' job. She was a lawyer, and there's all this pressure from that, and there's a possibility that she might get a promotion, and she doesn't want to lose that, but she has to go with her father, and that's causing stress on her job. That subplot was there to create more of a tension with her and her father and, you know, give her more of a backstory. But every scene involving her job as a lawyer was boring. They could have found a way to sidetrack that. I know they could have, because that entire subplot, every time went back to that, I was just like, oh, it felt very procedural. Like, let's just get through this, let's give her a job and a backstory. But then they kept going back to it and going back to it, and it just felt so cliched. And at certain aspects of Clint Eastwood's job as a scout, Matthew Lillard played like this villainous, you know, boss who was against him because he was aging, and it just felt really cliched. But the thing that this movie has is a lot of charm, and that's because Eastwood just brings this intense likability to all of his roles. And that's what won me over in the end. I think if you rented this movie, you would be perfectly satisfied. But if you were like me, where you had higher expectations going in, then you might be disappointed. But if you thought it was gonna suck like right off the bat, then you might be pleasantly surprised. I'm gonna give Trouble with the Curve a B-. It's not one of Eastwood's better movies, but it's certainly not one of his worst. Thanks a lot for watching, guys, and as always, if you like this review, then you can click right here and get Stuckmanized. Punk.